Here are the top 5 reasons why Emem is just as big of a problem, if not bigger problem than Ikechi. 1, she's disrespectful. 2, she's inconsiderate. 3, she's thirsty. 4, she's willfully ignorant. And 5, yes, I'm gonna say it, she's aggressive. um, and what I think
Ikechi.
wasn't trying to say the word aggressive, but he was looking for a word that was just as negative as aggressive, but he knew that wouldn't get bleeped out and left out, and so he chose aggressive because he knows that's a sore spot for Black women. Um, also, so after he's told her 4 times that she that he's vegan, and she kept asking, "Do you eat meat? Do you eat meat? Do you eat meat?" So he's thinking, okay, so this girl's a doctor, so she can't really be that ignorant, right? Is she really that willfully ignorant? Something must be going on. And so he's wondering, like, how did she get that far? How did she get this degree? And so he took her to bed, right?
When Ikechi
Said the word aggressive. I think the word he was actually looking for is spiteful, um, narky and Stalin. But I personally think she's more spiteful.
Let's get some housekeeping out of the way before we get this video started. Fair use disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Sorry about the background noise and all the scratching. Even though this is the first video I'll be posting, it is the last one I've recorded. This is the first time I've worn a wig for that long. So please bear with me and have some patience. Let's get into the 5 ways in which uh, MM is more problematic than Ikechi. In no particular order, she's willfully ignorant. She um, was told by Ikechi that he doesn't eat meat. And not only did he say he doesn't eat meat, he said he was vegan. So he told her both ways that, he about his diet, right? And even though and Ikechi clocked her, right? And I'm not sure in which order the show was filmed or edited. He said specifically to her, "I don't eat meat." So even if she didn't know what um, vegan was, he specifically said, "I don't eat meat." I could understand doing that uh scene where she was asking, "Do you eat chitlins?" and all that stuff. If we're having a little bit of kikis, and it's like, somebody asks, "Do you drink alcohol?" and the person says no, and you're like, "You don't drink vodka, rum, and whatever." Like, it's all fun and games if we're just like having a couple kikis. However, I think it goes beyond that with MM, and we're gonna talk more about that as the show goes on how she just, doesn't care. And MM has said that before, that she ignores red flags, and I think more than ignoring red flags, MM is just like an airhead. She just ignores everything. So we'll talk about that more as we go. Second, she's extremely disrespectful. Every man on the face of the earth, doesn't matter his class, his race, his ethnicity, where he's from, his culture, every man on the face of the earth prefers to be respected over uh being loved. They will prefer being respected over uh being wealthy. Men want to be respected, and MM completely disrespects Ikechi every chance she gets. Again, we'll talk about more about that. She's extremely inconsiderate, and I'll give you a couple examples from, the supposed breakfast she set up for him, and the fish tacos. We'll talk about that. She's thirsty. And anyone who's been watching this season knows she's thirsty. I'll go a little bit over that as the video goes on, but not so much. And lastly, she's aggressive. Like I said in the intro, I don't think the word he was looking for is aggressive. What he was looking for was spiteful and sullen and narky, and she's all of that. And I'll explain that more as the video goes by.
They've spent so much time um, like turning Ikechi into the villain. Not that it's like a hard thing to do because Ikechi is Ikechi. Um, but the show spent so much time turning Ikechi into a villain that we're not really getting to see too much of um, MM, or it's getting glossed over, like her bad behavior is getting glossed over. And we've seen that before in Married at First Sight, where one person in the pair and the couple is so off the top, is so rude, is so out there that they overshadow the negativeness of their spouse. We saw that with Hurricane Michaela,
Get such a
um,
fist of
when she
temper.
passed out, that um, Zach, who was like gaslighting her, cheating on her, even cheating on her with a castmate, Bao, while they were filming. Like, we didn't get to see any of that because Michaela was just so over the top. And then there was Jill and Negative Nancy Merla. That girl was complaining so much all the time that, it took us a while to realize like Jill was beyond Dusty, like, buying his mother a brand new phone. Um, and the mother sitting in Colombia not working, yet he had something, like negative, or like he had a criticism for his wife because she wanted to put her name on the list to get a new phone when his mother was not working, already had a newer phone than his wife, who needs that phone to pay the bills. There's Jasmine and Eris. Um, Eris was just so rude with the things that were coming out of his mouth that everybody glossed over. Jasmine having 101 Dalmatian uh, kettle in her house. I mean, without exaggeration, what did she say? She had like 30 puppies living in that one bedroom basement apartment of hers. Um, and that's what's an apartment.
David,
And then there's David and Michelle, where people are trying to make Michelle to be like some kind of where people are trying to make David come out to be some kind of like catch because Michelle is so rude and disrespectful. So we've seen this like throughout Married at First Sight history, where like one person is so out there that it's so easy to turn them into a villain. And Ikechi knows he's gonna be turned into a villain. Like, he's seen this done before with Eris, because Eris like moved state to state to follow the show, and he saw how Eris got portrayed. And there was a white boy from Michigan, the pot dealer from Michigan, and
I can't remember his name, y'all.
they hooked him up with this girl who didn't even want to be married. So he knows, he's watched this show, so he knows he's being turned into a villain. And so when he was looking for a word, he said aggressive, not because he necessarily thinks that Emem is aggressive, but he is looking for the most like hurtful thing that he could say to her that won't get bleeped out, that will like express the way he's feeling and the way that she's been made to be felt. um and I know you guys are not gonna want to hear this, but MM like has been disrespecting this man since he's been on the show, right? And again, I'm not saying that.
Ikechi is a catch or anything.
So one thing that I've noticed about Ikechi is that when Emem asked him like, "Are you like sexually attracted to me?" And then he said, um, "I think you're beautiful, but I don't have a type." And she's like, "You know what? I don't remember how the conversation came up when he said his celebrity crush is Michelle Obama and Kelly Rowlands. I think he said. Now, let me make this clear because I want to make sure people understand that I'm not dissing Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama is a dime piece. She's beautiful. She's like the most beautiful woman on the face of the earth. She's hot. She's all that stuff. But when a man that young, okay, she's age, she's like in his 40s or 30s or even, 50s, right? Says Michelle Obama, who's in her 70s, probably even 80s, says that's their crush. They're not talking about her face. What they're talking about is her intelligence. Not just her intelligence, but her being able to put her husband, Barack Obama, was a loser when she met him, and that's how she described him in her book, right? He was a bum, a loser when they met, and turned him into a winner, right? Those are the qualities that they're looking for. That they're sexually attracted to intelligence. He's a saposexual. So this woman is a nurse practitioner, right? She's like doctor level, and she doesn't know what vegan is. So this man is thinking like, what is going on? What is going on? Like, am I being tricked? Did they purposely just stick this woman on me, knowing that I act like I would have zero sexual attraction to her? He's told her 4 times that she that he's vegan, and she kept asking, "Do you eat meat? Do you eat meat? Do you eat meat?" So he's thinking, okay, so this girl's a doctor. So she can't really be that ignorant, right? Is she really that willfully ignorant? Something must be going on. And so he's wondering, like, how did she get that far? How did she get this degree? And so he took her to bed, right? Because he's trying to find something to like about her, right? And so after he sleeps with her, he's like, okay, now I'm not saying it's bad. He thought there would be fireworks at the end of that rainbow. But after the end of, I'm not saying there wasn't a rainbow there, but there was no fireworks. So he's like, okay, so you're disrespecting me, you're being inconsiderate, you're being willfully ignorant, you're thirsty, you can't even redeem yourself in the bedroom. Like, what do you have that's a redeemable quality for us to have, like for us to share? Um, so even though they're not saying it, but I really think that they consummated their um, relationship during the honeymoon, even though they're not saying that.
I won't go too deep about it in this video. If anybody's interested, feel free to leave me a comment and I'll try to make another video to talk about it a little bit more. Not every sex or sexual act is necessarily sexual intercourse. And the reason I believe that Emem and Ikechi slept with each other was how she was sucking on that honey pack during the honeymoon. It was kind of like a come hither, come get this again type of look she was giving him. But let me know in the comment what you think about that.
And after he took her to bed, he didn't see anything that he liked, so he started being weird with her. I'm not saying he's a catch. I mean, even if 1/10 of the way he's been portrayed is true, I wouldn't even be like platonic friend with Ikechi. If so, I'm not saying that like we should overlook, you know, his thing. But when so if you go back and look at it was episode 4 or maybe 5. I don't remember the number of episode, but it was the episode called Wedding Bliss or Miss, or might have been Wedding Miss or Bliss. And towards the end, they're sitting down I think they were having dinner, but like towards the end of the episode, they're talking about food. And Emem had to ask him a question, and he told her, like, I don't eat meat. And then she goes like, well, you don't eat chitlins? And he's like, no, I don't eat chitlins because I'm a vegan. Then she was like, well, you don't eat gizzard? And he's like, no, I'm a vegan. And she asked again, well, don't you eat liver? And he's like, no, I'm a vegan. And, it's just like going on. Like, first of all, no means no. No is a complete sentence. The man shouldn't have to repeat himself 4 or 5 times after he's told you he's a vegan and he doesn't eat meat for you to respect that and not keep asking him the same question over and over again. So I'm thinking it was like right around that time that Ikechi got really turned off by her because he's thinking, okay, well, this girl's a nurse practitioner. So clearly she's intelligent. And beyond intelligent, because she's a nurse practitioner, she's clever too because she went about it even smarter than a doctor because she has the same qualifications as a doctor but paid less for those qualifications, right? So he's like, okay, so this girl is too educated to not know what a vegan is, especially since I told her I don't eat meat, right? So he's thinking like, well, and it's something that I thought about too. Is like, well, why are you here, Emem? Like, why did you come on the show? Because then it like the way you're like she's questioning is like she's not even looking for a husband, right? So he's looking at it and he's thinking like, well, what's going on here? And she keeps continually and continuing to disrespect this man and disregard the fact that he said he's a vegan and his diet and lifestyle choice, right? So there was that with the line of questioning of asking him a zillion times, like, do you eat gizzards? Do you eat liver? Do you eat all this stuff? After he'd already told her, no, I don't eat meat, right? So there was that one. Um, and then when she supposedly fixed his breakfast, um, she went ahead and I'm gonna show you the screenshots of that breakfast. She ordered meat, not just eggs. She had bacon on his plate, okay? And it was just like, if you look at all the other episodes prior and after, like that vegan conversation, you never see Ikechi actually put any kind of meat or animal product in his mouth. He's put bread in his mouth, and I'll show this to you. He's put fruit in his mouth. And in fact, most of the plate of foods that I've seen in front of him were like vegetables, raw salads. I haven't really seen like any like animal products really on his plate. And even like in some of the episodes where the show tried to edit it, where like the producer, you can tell it's the producer telling him to like put the fork like to your mouth because he'll hold it like all awkwardly, like while he's talking like this or like weird like that, like up like that or weird. And then they never show him actually put the animal product in his mouth, but then they'll cut to him chewing, like trying to make it seem like he's eating like animal product, but he's actually not. The only time they've actually shown him putting actual food in his mouth, it's always been vegetable and fruit. And like you could tell it's the show editing it that way because if Ikechi was really, 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 really eating animal products or eating meat or dairy or any of that on the show. Don't you think the show would have loved to show it, to show how he's like a hypocrite since they were trying to turn him into the villain this episode? I mean, look at Mitch, right? Who was the California guy, like that was like all anti-plastic and he was supposed to be like some kind of environmentalist. Like the show didn't like hesitate to show every time he put a piece of chicken in his mouth, a piece of steak in his mouth, and then play that in conjunction with some kind of editing about when every time he would say like, "Oh, I'm some kind of environmentalist," they'll cut back and show him like putting a fried chicken or something in his mouth, right? They never showed that with Ikechi, and that's because he doesn't eat meat. And what's appalling is that like we're giving Emem all this pass because we know good and well if Ikechi was one of the husbands that we actually liked, like Keith or either of the Keiths from their respective season, Woody from Woody and Armani, Bennett or Miles from the season, or even Bobby or any of these husbands that we like. And we know good and well if any of them had gone on the show and told their wives that they're vegan or that they didn't eat meat, and their wives kept questioning them like that, we would have like gone for their head, myself included being the first one. So there's absolutely no reason why Ikechi is being disrespected like that. Okay, so that's first of all. Second of all, a lot of people want to say like, well, he's not here to find love or whatever because he's only here to promote his book or whatever. And it's like there's been so many husbands on the show who promote their business, not just husbands but people who come on the show who promote they have to promote their business because the show's filming like 12, 18 hours a day. People get fired for being on the show. They have to they're filming 12, 18 hours a day. If you are not promoting yourself, you're not promoting your business, when the show is done, you'll be almost screwed. Like the only people who can actually film on the show are people who like work for government jobs where they can take time off, have C-level upper management positions where they're like really necessary in their company that they're not gonna fire them, or people who work for their family business. Um, but everybody who's come has like advertised themselves. I mean, look at Jepti and Shawnee's. I mean, Shawnee's had a successful wig business. You showed that even from that season in Boston. Remember that guy that Jessica something, um, and the guy she ended up marrying, um, that she was grooming to marry, he lost his job as soon as he got accepted to be on the show. Same thing with Mark the Guppy. Although he was known as Mark the Shock, he got fired as soon as he got on the show. Like people end up losing their jobs in a lot of these places because they're on the show. A lot of companies um, don't want to give people that the time of that they need to film. So yeah, if they come on here, they have to advertise. I mean, everybody advertises themselves. I remember Gina, the salon owner. You'd say, hi to her, what's your name, and then she'll say, my name is.
Salon owner.
So he has to advertise for his business. But if there's like 1 million chance that he's looking for love, right? How do you think he would feel if he's telling his wife over and over and over again that he doesn't eat meat and she's not respecting him? And she's not respecting his wishes. And it's not just like the breakfast where she had bacon on the plate. Even like at the house party, she's like, "Oh, I ordered us fish tacos," and it's like, fish is an animal product. It's not vegan. Like, why are you ordering fish when I told you I'm vegan? And I think that's why he started doing the whole fight, picked a fight with her, and kept going like he was gonna cook the fish. I don't think he really wanted to cook the fish, but the reason that he was going off like that because it didn't sound to me, and probably to him too, it didn't sound like she ordered anything that he could eat, right? She just went ahead and ordered whatever the fuck she wanted because she has no regard for this man and his lifestyle and dietary choices, right? So I think when he offered to cook the fish, it's not because he wanted to cook, but because he wanted to make sure he gets to eat something. And so he probably was just gonna go to the vegan aisle and get some like imitation fish and cook that, right? So I think that was more of what that was about. And there was this episode where they said Ikechi is threatened by Emem's success. Ikechi is not threatened by Emem's success. Ikechi was trying to talk to her in a way to bring her down a peg. It's not out of like disrespectfulness. Like he's not trying to disrespect her necessarily. What he is frustrated, right? Because in his head he's thinking, okay, so this girl, she's clearly educated. She's like at a doctor level, right? She's basically a doctor, a nurse practitioner. So she's basically a doctor. Here she is, she's living there. She's not listening to me, even though I told her already 4 times all these things. She keep putting bacon and meat and animal products on my plate, right? So she's not respecting me as a man. She's not respecting me as a human. She's not respecting my agency. And she's definitely not respecting me as her husband. She's not respecting me living in this house, in my home, and bringing stuff in my home that she knows that I can't have, right? So he must be thinking in his head, well, she's purposely doing this. She's purposely looking down on me and disrespecting me. And so, therefore, I'm going to match her crazy with my assholeness and treat her like shit. And that's where the whole talking down to her or um, trying to bring her down a peg that a lot of people were noticing is because he's frustrated, right? And is it petty what he's doing? Yeah, absolutely. It's very petty, right? But like he's feeling like he's been pushed, his back has been pushed against a wall. He doesn't know what to do. And so he resorted to stooping that low, which is wrong. It's completely wrong. I'm not giving him a pass at all. But I think a lot of us are like glossing over the fact that Emem or Emem is just being the worst wife on the show, right?
Quite
Um,
frankly, the worst human
so
being ever.
all this is happening, and when when they asked him for the word to describe her, and he said aggressive, like what he means is spiteful, right? Or he wanna say fuck you to her or say some rude things, and he's like, I can't really say those things because I already know I'm being like portrayed as a villain. So what's the most negative thing that I can say to this girl or about this girl that's really gonna sting, that they're not gonna bleep out, that they're not gonna leave out, that really like punch her where it needs to be punched? He said aggressive, right? But he meant spiteful. And so when the sexual thing came about finally, and he said, he feels like his consent is being violated. He meant that. He meant that 1%, 100%. And he's 100% right. His consent was being violated, but it wasn't sexually. Again, let me say that again. His consent was being violated 100%. It was, but not sexually.
I'm not saying Ikeji didn't feel sexually violated, but I think if his diet had been respected, his if his lifestyle had been respected, he wouldn't be making an issue out of the sexual part.
His consent has been violated. His agency has been violated because he keeps telling this girl that he can't eat meat, and she keeps putting it on his plate, bringing it in his house, and not having anything else for him when she's in control of like ordering the food and doing those things, right? So, and he knows because clearly in his head he's thinking clearly these people have heard me say that 1,000 times. And they give them all this service. So I'm sure he wrote down a million times that he's vegan, right? So they know he's vegan and they're going along and letting her do whatever she wants. So he's thinking, well, clearly the show isn't trying to like check her or the producers isn't trying to be mindful of like my dietary restrictions or anything like that. So they just don't care, right? So he's feeling like pushed against the wall.
And he hungry.
So he's like, okay, so I'm pushed against the wall. So then what can I say that will have people listen to me? And so he's like, well, it's the sexual thing. Because everybody's going to take that seriously because they're not taking seriously something that is important to him, which is his diet and lifestyle choice. Now, let me tell you a little something about vegans, right? Vegans are crazy. Okay, I used to eat. I started eating plant based, um, quite accidentally actually, about 20 years ago, and I had to change from calling myself a vegan to saying that I eat plant based, and that is because like I realized that I wasn't vegan. Like I don't have any animal rights mentality or thinking like that. And when it comes down to it, and I would always say this, and I say this still now, while I try to eat as much plant based as possible, worst comes to worst, if I'm starving, right, I will eat anything, right? I'll eat any animal, I'll eat anything, right? But vegans will starve to death before they eat any animal products, right? Um, Not just that, but a lot of people, I would say about 7 out of 10 people that I met who said they were vegans, um, that started off because they have some dietary restrictions, like some like allergy, food allergy. Like I had a roommate
Two roommates.
who said they were vegan. One was allergic to eggs. Another was allergic to eggs and was lactose intolerant. Like they weren't vegan because they were, trying to like not, like because they had some kind of brand, philosophy about like it's because they have like a lot of dietary restrictions. They're allergic to a lot of things. And so they just decided to go plant based. And, a lot of them were like vegetarians who are just allergic to dairy and eggs, right? I was in culinary arts, and we have different stations. So we have like our vegetable station, fruit and vegetable station, our meat station, and our fish station, fish seafood station, salad station, etc. Right? And somebody forgot to clean the board from the seafood section. Like we're supposed to, we're supposed to go wash it right away and then bring it dishwasher every time you use a cutting board for meat or seafood. But some kid just didn't do that for whatever reason. They put the board down where it wasn't supposed to be. I think they flipped it around and brought it to like the vegetable section to use it, right? And this kid who didn't know because it wasn't in the seafood section, right, took it to go clean it because he was on cleaning responsibility in the cleaning rotation, and his hand got so puffed up he had to be rushed in the hospital where he passed away because he had such a bad allergic reaction. Even me, when I went plant-based for um, so many years, um, like if I like wanted to reintroduce meat or dairy or anything in my diet, I had to reintroduce it back slowly. Like one thing that I love to have is rum raisin ice cream. I love, love, love rum raisin ice cream. For me to like, I'll have like a pint of rum raisin ice cream on my birthday, right? For me to actually have that rum raisin ice cream and not have it come out both ways, a couple months before my birthday, like I start having like a half an ounce of dairy each and every day to get my body acclimated to it. It's the same thing with meat. When I wanted to go back to eating meat, I had to have like a little bit of it every day because if I just went, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna eat meat like that, it would come off both ways. So, I'll hurl it and then I have to go in the bathroom, and sometimes I'll sit in the bathroom all night not being able to sleep because of the reaction that my body is having with it. And so I think, like, again, I didn't see Emem asking Ikechi if like his veganism was, a lifestyle choice, or if it's a diet, to ask any clarification questions or anything like that. She just seemed to be like, well, I'm a meat eater, so therefore everybody should be a meat eater. And if it's a lifestyle choice for you to not eat meat, therefore I can just disrespect you and not give a fuck and just do whatever I want, and then you have to deal with it. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing or if it just happens to be these two Nigerians. Emem is behaving like one of my brother's ex girlfriend, and I thought she was the sweetest person in the whole world. And I was so excited when he got with her. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get a new sister in law. And I was just so happy and all that stuff. And at the time, not only was I eating plant based vegan, but I was also eating keto, right? So I was on a keto vegan diet. And that was right around the pandemic when I met her. And when the pandemic happens, I told her this. I said, I'm not vegan, but I'm eating plant based. And not only that, I'm on a vegan keto diet. And I said, however, um, because with the pandemic, like there were a lot of stuff not on the stock, so I like to buy like organic canned vegetables and all that stuff to make my chili and things like that, or just organic vegetables and products and organic hemp that I usually eat that just were not available. And so what I started doing during the pandemic is I would take my boat out and I'd go deep sea fishing. And so I think she heard that and she was like, "Oh, so you eat fish?" And it's like, "No, I love seafood. It's the end of the world and there's nothing else to eat. Then yeah, like I'll eat some fish, or if I travel and there's nothing else on the menu, yeah, I'll eat some seafood. But it's not that I eat seafood. It's more that it's a last resort. Like I'm not gonna starve to death. Like I'm not vegan, but I'll eat that." And so once I went to her house and I said, "Oh, let me treat," for whatever reason. I think she treated me to like come to her house, and I said, "Oh, let me treat, get dinner, and you don't have to, buy stuff, and then that way you're not making like 50 different meals because she has kids and they like what they like, and she likes what she likes, and I like what I like." So I said, "Let me, get food." And so she's like, "Chicken wings, pork fried rice, shrimp this." And I mean, she ordered beef, something. She ordered just each and every single meat group in that. And so when I was like, "What size?" And she's like, "Large, large, large." So I said, "Sure." And I ordered large or whatever she did. And I go and I ordered my stuff, which was like eggplant and whatever. And I said, "No rice, whatever." And I ordered my fish. And she's like, "Oh, why did you, like, why did you eat, like, order extra food?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, why did I order extra food?" She's like, "But like I ordered all these things extra large." And I'm looking at her like, "I thought I told you I'm on a vegan keto diet. Like pork fried rice isn't vegan, and it certainly isn't keto. So I don't understand." Like, and I explained to you what keto means, like no carb, low carb diet. Like I told, like, I don't eat rice, I don't eat pasta, I don't eat, and I had explained what keto meant to her, and I was like, "But even if you didn't know what keto meant, like you knew that I'm eating plant based." And she's like, "Oh, I thought you like seafood, or you gonna eat the shrimp." And I'm like, "I'm talking about, like, if it's the end of the world, yeah, I'll eat some seafood, but we have a menu here with like 1,000 vegan options. Why would I be ordering meat for me to eat?" And I think it's in the same vein that maybe Ikechi had told Emem, because she probably was like, after she asked, "Do you eat chitlins? Do you eat liver? Do you eat gizzard?" She probably said, "Well, I don't know how you're gonna do if you go visit my mom because she likes to, cook meat. She doesn't have the concept of vegan, or we don't have this concept of veganism in our culture." And then Ikechi probably said, "Well, if we go visit your mother, if she makes me fish, I'll eat that." And so Emem just put it in her head, well, oh, that means you eat fish. So therefore, I'm gonna order some fish tacos and not other anything vegan. And so she keeps doing things like that, and it really made me think like, what did she come here for? Like, it kind of makes me wonder if she really intended to be married. Like, I think maybe they're both faking it, and I think the show realized that, and probably why they put them together. Because if you look at the first couple of episodes, so I hadn't been watching this episode. I hadn't been watching Married at First Sight actually until after the sexual scandals, and I was like, oh my god. I went back to watch it because I'm like, this man is really, really frustrated because he's been disrespected, being slowly emasculated, and all that stuff. But if you go back, and when I went back to watch, not to watch the episodes, but just to fast forward to get to their section, just so I can see what's going on with them. Um, you can see the ring. She has like an engagement ring on her finger, and then the ring that's on her finger, that engagement ring is very much different from what Ikechi gave her, right? And so then I started, like, the wheel started thinking, and I started wondering, like, who she engaged to, and I started thinking like, maybe the person, she'd been dating somebody, gave them an ultimatum, or did something for Daisy like that, like she's doing with Ikechi right now to them, and dumped her. They dumped her, and after the show, then they got back together. Or maybe she's even engaged to that kissing cousin. Maybe it's a kissing cousin. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was him. Like, that was, like, she's engaged to. I don't know. But it really made me think, like, well, maybe she has some ulterior motives too, and it's not just the Keiji out here being a thing. So, just to give you guys some food for thought, if you have any questions, any suggestions about what kind of video I should do next, please let me know. And I'm sorry about the nails. Um, I'd put these on and they fell out, and I couldn't find the other one, and I can't find the case where it is. But leave your suggestions, leave your comments. I would like to have a discussion with you guys about this. All right, thank you.